learn that feedback, because when they go out to work, they may well be managing people, or they're going to be managed and they're going to have to learn that process in business very quickly. And for some, it will come as a big shock. You can't burst into tears every time somebody says, actually, you need to do it. It won't work, you know.
To continue what Neeti has asked, I want to say that I have done the same thing, that I've gone out to the class, asked them to write. So they said, ma'am, we want more video clips, we want more outside class sessions. I mean, that's what I have done once, so they want more of that.
Yeah.
But no, we have to give the concepts in a limited time. We have sessions, limited sessions. So how can we make, I mean, every time we cannot show them the video clips, supporting, that's just an application, no? We have to give them the concepts also. And or we cannot take them outside the class.
I mean, one of the things, it might be a negotiation with the students, that they have to do some work. If they want video clips, you've got the concepts to get through, they may have to do something and say, right, to get these video clips in, you have got to demonstrate that you have read this chapter. I mean, you don't need to do chapters in class. That's their job. That's their job. They should, you know, they should be reading that stuff before they get there. You know, there's lots of stuff. The thing is, if you take responsibility for all of their learning, they have to take responsibility for their learning. And sometimes it's almost like you're over-parenting them. You know, and you might start that at the beginning of a postgraduate year, but by the end of year 2 they should be autonomous learners. They should become very independent, because they're not going to have you when they go out to work. And their boss hasn't the time to take them through that. So working through a chapter in class, you know, you shouldn't be sort of reading things out. They've got to do the pre-reading, they've got to be prepared, they've got to do post-work. It's not always you pouring things into their head. You're about reinforcing, understanding, explaining, not, you know, reading stuff out of that. Do you see what I mean? But they've got to put in the work. If they want more video clips, then so discuss with them how we can get more video clips in, but we're not going to do this. So what's your responsibility? You know, it may be you get them to do the video clips, to go out and do some research about finding video clips that reinforce certain concepts. You know, those kind of things. So make sure they take responsibility for their own learning. Otherwise, you're just stepping in too much.
I just have one more clarification. Something that you said in your previous sessions that we see, you said stretch the brighter ones. Now, the point is we have a 90, we have a subject of 90, and it's a heterogeneous group, different wavelengths, different level of intellect. Now, if I start addressing the more perceptually intelligent or intellectual questions, I run the risk of losing a majority of them. They become disengaged, they start doing this mistake. So, would you be wise, or would you prescribe that dealing with that set of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% outside the class would be better than trying to address them within? Or what would you prescribe for stretching those?
Well, I wouldn't prescribe one way, but I would try it. There might be things outside the class. You have 75-minute sessions, don't you? Yes. I would never ever give a lecture of 75 minutes. You know the pedagogy. The pedagogy is they're with you for the first 10 minutes, you lose them for the next 20, and they tune in for the last 10 minutes. So stuff that you've been talking about in the middle 20 minutes has gone in one ear and out the other. So therefore, you should be able, you know, to get it across there. If you have 75 minutes, what are you going to do in that last 35 minutes? Or how are you going to break it up? And that you've got to have the opportunity for those brighter students to ask the challenging questions. And that might be, you allocate some time in your 75 minutes for students to come and have a one-to-one to ask questions. Is there any more they want to do? How could you take it further? Use your 75 minutes. And I think sometimes you might say things, but you always need to have time in class for people to come up to you individually afterwards and say, actually, I didn't quite get that down. I didn't quite understand that. So do you leave enough time within your classes to actually give time to sit there and say, right, any of you now that want to go over any of these concepts, I'm here. I've got 15 minutes, I've got 30 minutes, and actually we need to do that. And also reinforce the key, you know, good teachers always say you should have 3 concepts concepts you're going to deliver in one session. You tell them what you're going to tell them. You explain it there, and then you summarise what you've said, because you're constantly reinforcing. If you're giving them 20 concepts, they can't engage with you. You've got to start boiling information down, and they've got to do things out. You have to have autonomous learners, inquiry-based learners, because otherwise they just think everybody else is there for their convenience. And I don't mean that you abdicating your responsibilities. It's about stretching. Yeah, and just think about ways of how you can get that top end, rather than spending all of your time working with the weaker students to get them through. Because they'll take up your time. It's like the naughty children in the class. The naughty children in the class take up most of your time, and then the brighter ones are getting bored in the other corner. And you've got to think about all of them. And you will have very diverse classes, and it's quite difficult to think about how you tackle that diversity. And that's why the sorts of things you're talking about could stretch people in different ways. If you've got more participative approaches, you can spot the really bright students. Have debates. Get them to structure their own sessions. Get them to lead debates. Get them to lead seminars. Give them questions, give them an exercise to go through the papers for that week and find, relevant things. Ask them to read with a question in mind. All of those kinds of things in pedagogy that you do with students. Is that okay? Right, so back into your foursomes that you were working with before. I want to know as quickly as you can what students have fed back to you, both good and bad. You're sharing it in a confidential, it's not going to be held against you. Personally, I would rather somebody tried and failed than not try at all. And actually, every class you go in, it's never going to be the most fantastic class anybody's ever had, but you want bits of it, but it might be fantastic for some of your students. So, and some things will work and some things won't. And some things will work with some students, but not with others. So you've got to try, you've got to experiment. So think about the feedback that you're getting. Are they disengaging? Are they engaging? Think about what could stop change, what might be problematic, like you talked about the diversity. So that might be something at the end of this that some of you want to take forward about how you deal with diversity in a classroom situation. How can you work with weak students and bright students? And actually you might have little learning sets amongst you that start to explore